Hello, my name is M.K.Davis. You know, recently I was able to visit a set of Native American mounds that they had built. It was a complex of mounds. And I posted a post on YouTube about it, dealing with a disc that they had found, and it had feathered serpent symbols on it. And I asked the question, you know, what was Kukulkan doing in Mississippi? Kukulkan being a Mayan feathered serpent god. And you know, there's a lot of mystery to these mounds, and archaeologists do their very best at interpretation and trying to figure out what happened and what went on, and dating and all that. But you know, basically it's not a lot known, and sometimes you run into mysterious things, and this disc was very mysterious. I repaid a visit back to this mound, a friend and I did, and I was going to show him this disc, and we talked to the lady, and she said there was a similar disc that was found in Alabama, and in a place called Moundville, oddly enough, and it was identical in dimensions in every way, and it was the exact same type of disc with notches on the edges and everything, but it had a single serpent, and in the middle was a hand with an eyeball in the palm. Actually, I think it was on the back of the hand. I think the hand was like face down. But at any rate, I got interested in it, and she went and dug up a picture of it and showed it to me, and I thought that was just terribly interesting, and I went to, you know, looking at some of the more artifacts in the museum, and they had a bowl that had inscribed on the bowl on the back side a number of different symbols, and I got to looking at it, and there was that hand. The hand was there with an eye in the palm of the hand, except that it was turned up, and it was the palm of the hand that had the eye in it. But it was the same hand. You know, if you flipped it over, it would be on the back of the hand. But it got me wondering what that symbol meant and everything, and I looked it up. Well, let's just take a look. Let's look at the artifacts. Here's the mound itself, kind of close up at the base, you know, looking straight up at it. And you can see that at one time this mound was pyramid shaped, and it had a stairway going up it and a causeway and everything. It was part of an elaborate plaza of mounds. And right here, you can see in this photo right here, the reconstruction artist's conception of how it looked, and you see that it looks very much like a Mayan simple complex. Now here's the disc that was found at these mounds, you know, and it's from Mississippi, and it's got two feathered serpents on it, kind of wound around each other, and they have rattles on them, so they're rattlesnakes, which would differ a little bit from the older Mayan, you know, the Mayan feathered serpent, but the meaning still being the same. And here's the disc from, you know, over in Alabama. It's in every way the exact dimension of the disc found in Mississippi, including these unusual notches around the edges, but with the exception that it doesn't have two serpents, and it has this hand with an eye, you know, in the middle of it, which is you know, fascinating motif. And I wanted to know what this hand meant. You know, it was clearly, you know, a symbol of something, you know, meaningful to them. But before we look at up at the meaning, let's take a look at these other artifacts that have that same hand symbol. Take a look at this bowl, and you'll see that there's a hand symbol and some other symbols as well on the bottom of this bowl. And you know, because I saw that really raised an eyebrow. I don't think this lady was even aware that she had that symbol there on that bowl. So that's when I got really interested, and I wanted to know what the symbol meant. So I looked it up on the internet, and this is what I found. It seems that symbol represents a portal to the upper world, as you know, as related to the underworld. It means that you're going up or going to heaven or whatever their version of heaven is, and that symbol was very important in regard to getting there. So, you know, it's in other words, this mound was most likely a sacred place, and sacred places that really caught my attention too, because I'm familiar with sacred places and how it relates back to the Sasquatch itself and Bigfoot itself, and I'll get into that. Let me just point you to another sacred place that I'm familiar with, and that's the Bluff Creek, California area. That land in that area was considered sacred by the three major Indian tribes in there, and in the 50s, when they decided to put a road through there, they met with a lot of resistance from the native people, to the point of forming human chains and stuff, and trying to prevent it from happening. And the reason was that it was so sacred. Well, I'll just show you. Let's look at the reasons why that was so sacred. I'll just read part of it. The Siskiyou Mountains are a small range in northwest California and southwest Oregon. In the southern part, they contain parts of the Klamath and Smith River watersheds. These watersheds are the traditional homelands of several Native American tribes, including the Yurok, Karuk, and Tolowa tribes of northern California. And I hope that I pronounced that right. These tribes have considered the high country to be of a special spiritual importance since times predating recorded history. Two of the rocks at the peaks of the high country are now called Dr. Rock and Chimney Rock at about 4,000 feet. This region is held to be the center of the spiritual universe because it is believed that the original inhabitants of the world, who left just as the humans appeared, climbed up through holes in the sky, and these high peaks are the last places they set foot on Earth. Hence the high concentration of spiritual powers here. Okay, well, that really rung a bell with me. I'll tell you why. Here's the view from Chimney Rock, one of the sacred peaks in that area where this allegedly occurred. And could they actually be talking about some inhabitants prior to humanity like this? Because, this is an area famous for Bigfoot sightings and the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film. And if that were to be the case, these folks allegedly left from this rock, climbed it through a hole in the sky, and perhaps maybe they all didn't do that. Enough were left behind that we see and film them every now and then. Now back to Mississippi and that disc that had the hand in the eye, and the bowl that had the hand with the eye in the palm, that was supposed to represent a portal to the upper world. Those high peaks, we don't have them in Mississippi, but maybe these mounds are like representative of a high peak, and maybe it represents a similar thing. Let me show you an artifact I found in one of the museums there around the mounds, and maybe it will ring a bell with you. Like I said, maybe here in Mississippi, maybe they had the same thing going on with no mountains or sacred peaks, so they artificially made them. But look at this guy on the bowl here. Does he look familiar? Conical-shaped head, really wide mouth. It look familiar to me. Rung a bell with me. And here's another one. Similar. Look at the width of the mouth. And it kind of, I wonder if there's not a connection between, all these areas. Anywhere there's a sacred peak as to why it's sacred. Take a look at this guy with the round mouth here. And here it is way over in Mississippi, and then you see a similar thing in the Pacific Northwest. This is a mask from the Pacific Northwest of what they call a skookum. It's a representative of a Sasquatch, but it has that characteristic whistling round mouth, and you see that here in Mississippi, and perhaps it's a similar thing. You got to wonder, why they went through the trouble of building these mounds to be 30, 40, 50 feet high in the shape of a pyramid with a kind of a flat top, and then you find these discs representing portals to the upper world. And then you realize that a similar thing went on in the Bluff Creek area with those sacred peaks being also portals where individuals prior to normal humanity left this world from those peaks, and then you realize maybe there's a thread of commonality. Maybe there's an untold story, and maybe we are a species with amnesia. Anyway, I thank you for your time.